Hello everyone, welcome back to All Gathered Up, the show that runs parallel with the Great British Sewing Bee, and we go into more detail in whatever technique or skill comes up. And we do that because we've got more time, as you know. Those of you keep coming back each week. We have, well, sometimes we're over an hour, but yes, we have that time to go into that detail, to talk about those techniques, analyze them, maybe try and work out how they're done and show you how they're done. And we have more time. And also, as you know, we have Carol Alayne, Master Tailor Couturier, with us as always. Hello, Carol. Nice and sunny weather.
Hello,
Where, by the looks of it, you're in your sunny
I
clothes
know.
too.
I am. The heat is on, as they say. In
Absolutely.
ways than one. Yeah.
So there we are.
What
Look,
did you?
go on.
Yeah. What is this, week 6 now?
Week 6. I was just about to say, over halfway through.
Over halfway through, and although my work is mainly bespoke tailoring, every now and then I get somebody will say, "Well, can you just help me with this? It's it's a lesser project or whatever," and because we did sequins, I happen to have a sequence amendment that I had to make today, so I thought we could talk about that.
No
And
way.
also, yeah,
No way. They're never going to believe that. They're going to think that's just set up. Is that true?
no, isn't it sweet? It's got this little drop sleeve that fits over the arm like this, and it's a real sweetie. But there was a lot wrong with it, the balance and everything, and I also had to hem it. I just shorten it. So I thought I'd use this to talk about some of the problems that we saw.
That's where I know we've moaned and groaned over a couple of weeks. If you've watched me and Ting, we've just felt a bit flat over the last couple of weeks and uninspired because we've been feeling for the sewers not being able to finish. And do you know, there's nothing worse, is there, that we keep seeing them not finishing and then, getting critiques like, oh, if only you'd got 2 more pockets on, and it's like, well, if only I had 2 more hours, I would have got those pockets on.
At least a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah,
I was working today. I was listening, and there's one phrase that really gets under my skin, and every time I heard it, I wrote it down.
Okay.
And I've got, it's a shame. It's such a shame. It's a great shame.
Oh no.
Kind of shame. What a shame.
Oh.
Big shame and a little bit of a shame.
Oh no. How many is that?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh.
8, it's a shame. And kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah. I can almost hear them doing it. It's a shame you didn't get the zip finished. It's a shame you didn't get the lining sewn in. Critique them on their sewing, what they did do. You can't critique them on what they didn't do because of the time, and it's getting us down, isn't it? Because I'm now I said to Ting, I feel like all I've done is moan. I've not been inspired. I haven't had a chance to see my favourite sewers yet because they haven't had a chance to bloom, blossom, and shine, have they?
Mm-hmm. You've got to be careful too, don't you, that you don't sink into a language which isn't helpful.
Yeah.
You start to acquire it yourself, and then you think, now we are in week 6. Wait a minute. We should be focusing on the leaders of the pack, the people that are excelling, But I have noticed in this series that 3 things are going on. Number 1, the time element is reduced, greatly reduced. And even if it's just a half hour, that's a significant amount of time.
Oh, yeah. Right?
If you got to hand finish something.
Yeah.
So the time element is down. The second thing is the challenges are quite complex.
Yeah.
Sequence and ribbing and a zip and pockets.
In the same thing.
Yeah. And the third thing is, maybe you can help me out with this, but it's my feeling that the skill level is slightly lower. So the contestants were chosen in a different way.
I suppose it's been going for 10 years. But maybe people who have applied, they've all applied by now, or people aren't applying because they know how little time they get. So the really top sewers are going, oh, that's not me. Is it because it's on BBC One for a couple of years now? It's gone more entertainment. We could analyse to our heart's content, but do you know what? we're here for those sewers who want to find out about those techniques. So shall we just go straight into the sewing and try and spread our positivity with nailing sequins, because that behind you looks amazing, but I've never worked with sequins and I don't think I want to. Is it really difficult as they say it is?
It depends on the fabric,
Okay.
the composition of the fabric, and the size of the sequins is the big problem. And if they're pliable, then it's easy for the needle to go through. If they're more rigid and they're larger, then that's where the problem starts.
Right. So if I was on the sewing bee and ever there was a sequined fabric, is there a tip that you could tell me straight away to do when choosing my sequined fabric then?
Find a sequin cloth which has no pattern that you have to follow or match, like in the stripes.
Right.
Something that is just going to, you have to work in parallel with, and definitely pick the smallest size of sequins you can find.
Okay, there we go, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, great tip. All right, I'll remember that if I'm ever on. If sequins come up, hunt, and I'll run for the smallest ones. Which are the smallest ones?
That's it.
Yes. So causing your machine less damage as well.
That's right. That's it. That's a start.
So you sent me some photos, didn't you? So shall we get those photos? So shall we work our way through the photos then? Yeah.
Please do. Yeah, let's do that. Because,
so it's linked to that dress then, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Where are we?
Okay.
There.
So I had to shorten this dress about 1.5 inches. So I put it on the client with her shoes. And then what I do is I let the dress settle and I put a pin at the floor. So you smooth the fabric down and pin to the floor instead of pinning it up, as it were.
Oh.
Because the floor is stationary. The floor doesn't move ever. So if you pin everything right to the floor, and you keep it, you don't pull it away from the client. You just let the dress fall vertically straight down and mark where the floor is.
So I need to twist that round like that, do I?
Oh, what a good idea.
Because that makes more sense. So technically, are we saying this bit here now is flopping on the floor and flat, and that is now level with the floor?
With the floor. Yes.
I get you.
Absolutely right. Okay.
So that pin is almost touching the floor on that.
It is.
I get you.
It is touching the floor. And then I would say, would you like this to be on the floor, or would you like it to be slightly off the floor? Just for it's easier to walk. And if you do have stairs at the event that you're wearing this to, and then we talk about that. In this case, she wanted it about 1/4 inch off the floor, which is perfect for me, because I then we'll go further into these pictures. I'm going to lose 1/4 inch with my facing.
Oh, right. Okay. So let's get the next photo. So
now I've cut the hem. Here we are. So this is the first problem, is as people that have worked with sequins, you know this well. You cut them, they fly around, they bounce all over the place, and you have a well-scattered mess.
Okay.
Just by cutting.
So can I just confirm, I'm going to, because I know I'm going to be annoying, have you cut on that line, or have you remarked another line? Or
I cut right to the pin.
You have? Okay.
I cut right to the floor, and I'm going to finish it 1/4 inch shorter.
Thank you, Carol. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Every question is valid and valuable.
So you've cut that, and scissors, are you just using something old, an old pair that you use, or they're not your special fabric scissors, are they?
That's well noted, because I have an older pair of scissors that I don't care what happens to them, and I'll replace them. It's a cheaper price pair of shears, and They do take a beating. I use them for paper. I use them for anything, opening bottles,
Okay.
whatever I need. And they did work out okay.
And you're going through. Do you have your hand over to stop the stuff shards going everywhere, or are you just going and go for hell
That
for
I'm
leather?
just cutting away. Yeah,
Okay.
just cutting away from
Right.
pin to pin by eye.
Okay. So then we've cut to the floor. Then technically to that pin, and then oh, what's that? That's parcel tape.
That's the gaffer tape. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I clean up. I did have a photograph of a brush. I don't know if
Oh
you've got that. Or did you have a photograph of a brush?
no, I didn't. No.
Oh, okay, that's
Okay.
fine. I have a clothes brush to hand, or you can use a paintbrush, a wider
Oh,
paintbrush,
okay.
to just gather everything up, get them in a pile, and then once I have a pile, I just put the tape on top and just keep picking up more and more using fresh pieces of tape, and then that can just go in the bin because believe me, I track them all over the studio, all over the
Yeah. Well, I
hallway,
can
all over the
imagine
street,
when you're
all
cutting,
over
it's going to go
commercial
ping,
street.
ping, ping.
Yeah.
It's going to go all over. Love that tip though. Okay, so then next, let's go back to the fabric, and then you have done.
So I took
Oh,
the lining, which is a stretch lining, and it's cut on the straight. So I cut
yeah,
about an inch and a quarter because I have to also shorten the lining, don't I?
yeah,
So I cut off an inch and a quarter, and then I folded that in half. So I have 5/8 of an inch on the double,
yeah.
and that's my hem facing. And now using a 1/4 of an inch presser foot, I'm sewing my facing on,
Yeah, I can see
and then
that.
I will yep, and then I'll press it to one side, I'll understitch it, and I'll finish my
So
hem. So
once
that's the
you've sewn that, obviously this is going to be flappy. You're gonna fold that over, yeah. So the fold
yes,
is
I'm
then
going to
on.
fold it toward the unfinished seam,
Yeah,
fold it over the unfinished seam.
yeah,
Yep.
and
And then you should see in the next photo that
okay.
should be
Oh yes,
okay. So
right.
now
And then
it's
folded it again.
understitched. Yeah, it's understitched and then it's folded up again. So we've moved on a couple of steps, but
Oh,
it's just
oh,
so you can see how clean that is, right? Um,
yeah,
yep,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So now that's the inside now.
yeah.
And now if I top stitch from the right side, I'll have a nice, clean, tidy hem, which is about 1 centimeter tall.
Oh, I see.
Um, that's
So
not a very good photo, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
I can see. So
People,
that's now your nice new bottom because it's been
that's
taken
it.
up by your 1/4 of an
Yeah.
inch. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. So the hem is accurate.
yeah.
Everything is clean.
And now
And it
you're
looks like, yeah,
going
I
to
was going
top
to say
stitch.
it looks like it did when the client gave it to me. It has a new hem facing on it that was put on in the manufacture of this dress.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there's one more thing I wanted to show you at my sewing machine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm sure that you've all encountered this. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But if we can get a close-up of this,
Yeah.
this is the hem that I've cut away. And can you see that it's sewn on with chain stitches? Can you see that? The stripe, the parallel stripes there, that is a chain stitch.
Oh, is that not a bit of fab? Oh, hang on. I'm going the wrong way. Go.
Oh,
Oh, I was looking at the hem. Sorry, the nice hem bit.
okay. Yeah. So these parallel stitches going down here,
Yeah.
perpendicular to the hemline,
Yeah.
these are all chain stitches.
Oh.
Okay. Do you know what I mean by a chain stitch?
I use the chain stitch in crochet, It's
Yeah.
almost like a slip stitch for us in crochet. I don't know what it is in sewing.
Hmm. So this is another hazard with working with sequins, and
Yeah.
that is if one of these chain stitches, if you snip the thread and if you pull it, then, oh, it's not going to do it. Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Um, yeah. Well, what happens is all the sequins just pop off one at a time.
Oh, because the
Um,
sequins are sewn on that chain thread.
Chain stitch,
Chain stitch.
yes, one stitch, yeah. So I'm going to try, because if you snip this thread, you can sort of make it happen. But if you have a mistake at in your machine, and you do, yeah. Oh well, it's a hazard. I can't
Yeah,
show it,
it's all right.
but
It's typical, isn't it? When you're showing off a
yeah,
hazard that the hazard then doesn't work. But you
yeah.
can
But it
guarantee when
happened
you're
to
at the
me a
sewing
couple of.
machine sewing away.
Oh well. Well, there we are. It's one thing that could possibly happen, trust me. And it's happened to me when I was working on this dress.
Oh, did it?
So I thought I would show it. Yeah, but anyway, that's one of the that's another problem, not the mess that it makes, and the difficulty, and the fact that you need a heavier needle perhaps, or you're walking foot, or you may have to, if it's sequins and beads, you might have to prepare the whole of the seam allowance area by bashing up the beads and flattening some things.
Yeah.
So
See,
yeah,
see
just
all.
another trick.
See, this to me seems, and I can understand why it was in week 6, because
Yeah.
the producers, I presume, are assuming that by week 6, you're probably using sewers that might have used sequins before, so therefore we'll know all of these issues with using sequins. But in that reduced time, there's very little time to do all those things that you're saying about getting rid of the excess sequins and stuff. There's no time for that, is there?
No, and there's a lot of things that now can go wrong. Let's say that the only fabric that's left for you to choose has a very large sequence on it. Okay, then that's a problem when you're putting the zip in, because if you're not careful, the zip will overlap into the zip area, and it'll get caught
Oh,
in the teeth of the
yeah,
zip. So that, that's another thing.
yeah.
If you could have experience with using sequins, but maybe you're a bit, you get the least of the friendly fabric to work with,
Yeah.
and so that can be a problem. And also if you have a very small seam allowance and you seam the rib knit to the cuff, and then you've got your lining, and that has to be sewn on, and see, it's really bulky.
Isn't it just?
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can have all the experience, you can have a bit of experience with it, but then you encounter all these other obstacles that really complicate it. And it was
It's
rather a pile up, a
it,
pile up of a big zip, sequence, knit,
well,
lot going on.
let's go on to it and look at those
Mm.
sequins. And
Yeah.
first of all, we have to say, well done to the sewers. But
Mm.
so let's look at that's the pattern. When they said, right, you've got to make a sequin bomber jacket and you've got 3 hours, I had to chuckle
Mm.
because all the sewers went, oh, like massive groan,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a phenomenal make. A bomber jacket is great
Yeah.
anyway, and there are
Yeah.
lots of intricacies, but with the added of the sequins and with the added of doing a lining and having to hand sew the lining in, whoo, I
Yeah.
got sweaty just listening to it.
Oh, so did I. The thing that got me was when they show the procedure, and they said, here's how it's done. You take all these pieces. Now, first you do the pockets, and then you do this, and then you do the side seams and the shoulder seams, and then you do that, and then you do that, and then you construct your lining, and then and I thought, I'm already exhausted just watching all the steps,
It,
and then knowing you've only got 3
yeah,
hours to do that.
yeah. It was a massive animation. It kept going and going and going and going. I do love those little bits because they really do help, and that's what I like about the Sewn Bee. They are trying. It helps us to visualize what they've got to do, and for us, it was like, oh, that's a lot to do, isn't it? And this was the main thing that was, other than the sequins, that this was another issue, wasn't it? Of the task was going to be that neck and stretching, which you wouldn't usually do. Stretch the ribbing out to fit the longer neck, because you're ribbing. Well, we're going to talk about ratios in a little bit, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
But let's have a look at the sample, because it's always nice to see what they made. I haven't got a close-up of it, sadly, but it seemed all right. I did notice on the close-up a little bit of rippling of the ribbing on the top, but I noticed Esme tried to flatten it out a bit. But it looks fab from here, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It looks good. I mean, the only thing I would say is it looks like they used an adult ribbing for the child's garment. So the ribbing is a bit overpowering.
Yes.
I would say.
Good
I mean, it's out of scale, isn't it, for the garment, really? But no, it's a jolly little garment to make. You just need about 6 hours.
Absolutely. And I got this fun picture here. Where is it? Oh no, I haven't got it. Well, there was a picture where they were all rushing to get the sequins, and that was a massive bun fight because some couldn't get there straight away, because I think they only had about 7 or 8 bolts on the table. And of course, they all went there, and some couldn't get there. And I thought, I felt for them there. That's always a pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And then sometimes they have to share and think, well, I don't have enough to do this, so. Because it's all dead stock, isn't it? Different lengths. So
yes.
I like this, but I'm not going to have enough to do the whole piece. So can I borrow some of yours for the sleeves? And that's where you get this two-tone thing, because that's another complication as well.
Yes, you can see the two-tone. It kind of, I can understand why they wanted to do it. It looks fun. You've got two-tone there, you've got two-tone there, and you've got two-tone there, haven't you?
It's interesting that almost half of the contestants, chose.
Take
a two different fabrics.
A look at them close up, because who have we got? I was just checking my paperwork. All my notes. We'll look at the bottom 2 and then the top 2. So Susie and Luke were in the bottom end. So number 6 and number 7. And I think they were, nearly all of them were unfinished. I think it was only Elsa who finished and managed to get the lining sewn in. I think they said it was quite messy, but I think most of them were unfinished on that.
So Elsa did finish, even though she made a hasty job of. But
I think everyone else was struggled. So Susie, the lining wasn't sewn in. Well, who was ever going to get that sewn in that time anyway?
Exactly.
And then there's Luke's there. And I think it was this issue of the neck, wasn't it? And I don't know whether that was... They all seem to be saying, something's not right, or this isn't working. So I have no idea how clear, how difficult the pattern was. But they did all struggle with that, didn't they?
Yeah. So that looks like that neck piece was in one piece, and it tapered from the stand at the back, center back, which would have been, I don't know, an inch tall. And then it just disappeared to nothing at the top of the zip then. Yes.
Sort of like that, wasn't it?
Kind of a shape. Exactly. Yes. So then there would have been markings along the way. There should have been markings on the pattern.
They were talking about the notches, Yes.
And also the shoulder, the back neck, the total of the back neck would be shorter than the total of the front neck, because the front neck dips. So they would have needed to allow more ribbing to go from the center front at the zip to the shoulder, and then the back neck would have been shorter. Okay, so the total back is shorter than the total front. So if they didn't get that proportion set up and mark it correctly and get the markings on the shoulder seam, then they would have had a problem.
And I think most of them seemed to have more fabric, more neck fabric. So it was all then rippling because there was too much fabric there.
That's right. But it also looks like the cuffs are a little bit too big.
Yeah.
In some of these. So that could be a seam allowance problem. Maybe they took too shy of a seam allowance. So there was too much rib. Or maybe it's just a very stretchy rib. You know, and maybe with working with it, that it just stretched out of shape. We don't know the quality of the trimmings that they were given, do we?
No, not at all. Let's have a look at the top two. So we then had Alex.
That is great fun.
Yeah.
I like that one.
And
see, that looks very good. The neck ribbing looks very good.
It does.
But
yeah, I think she was...
The hem ribbing and the cuff look too generous. They look like they're rippling.
They are rippling, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Elsa, who was the one who virtually got everything there, everything in and everything right, and then the lining even sewn in, even if it was quick. But that looks actually pretty, doesn't it?
Yeah, very pretty, very feminine. But would you call that garment finished then?
I can't remember how Patrick worded it. Was they're marking it, even though it's not finished. The one you got it because it was the best of the unfinished finished. If you get me,
okay, yeah.
Because they still have to mark it, don't they? But yes,
yes.
I think she was the one that
she got the furthest along according to the direction.
Indeed, yeah. And even if the lining was perhaps not, it was sort of long stitches shown in. I think we had a close up there, but she got the furthest than everyone else.
Right.
And then everything was then correct as well. So because I think the ones down the other end that that it was noticeable that they were out of sync on that. I don't think we could see it from the group shot.
Maybe it's just that the girth of the hem is too big for the model. You see what I'm saying? Then that's why it's looking like it's curling.
Oh, I see.
A bit serpentine. Yeah, it could be that it's you see, because even on that one, it looks like there's a bit of curl on that left front side.
Yeah.
So at the hem. So maybe it's just because the model is smaller.
Yes. That's a good point. It's not filling it out enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How?
So we can forgive that.
It's right. When did you learn that with? And that's just experience, isn't it? With doing the neck. I can remember doing many jersey T-shirts out of knitting jersey fabric. And having the neck. Oh, and some of these. I want to do some gym tops soon. You've got to. That's just experience, isn't it? Cutting it shorter and then pulling it as you sew it so it matches. That's the only way you get better at that. I'm guessing, isn't it?
That's it. I mean, there are two kinds of neckline finishes that you can use. One is using a fabric which has a limited stretch. So that's just about every double knit or jersey or T-shirt fabric, limited stretch. And then you have fabrics that have a greater stretch. And the ribbing that they used for this bomber jacket is one of those. It has an extended stretch. So you're trying to control two different properties. Now, you can bind the neckline like in your gym top. You can bind it. It's kind of the opposite to what I've done with the hem, where you would sew it, the binding onto the wrong side, bring it around to the right side and top stitch it down. Or you can make a folded bias trim and sandwich it on.
Oh, okay. We talked about that a couple of seasons ago, didn't we? The sandwich binding.
Yes, we did. Yeah. And then you can make a crew neck, which is about 1 inch tall, which is most t-shirts. You can do a mock turtleneck, which is a little bit taller. Or you can do a turtleneck, which then falls down on itself. Again, it's about 5 inches tall and falls down into about 2.5 inches. Yeah. So it is about practice. And I have a few things to show you. I don't have anything finished, but I like just talking about what it is that we're doing when we make sort of things. So I'll clean off my sewing machine of the sequins. We're done with those. And I can show, if we're ready, let's see. Because I don't have any ribbing on hand, but
no, because I've
got a few.
You have a lot of things that you just pull out of your cupboard, Carol, but I can understand that perhaps not having that to hand.
Yeah, I've got a few interesting things just bombing around, don't I?
Yeah. Love it.
So the first one is, this is just basically stockinette knit. This is t-shirt fabric, as we could simply call it.
Yeah,
and
I use
this
that
is
all
that
the time.
knit and purl that curls.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you've got the straight of the grain where you can see the stripes in it. It's parallel to the selvage edge, which is here, straight of the grain, and then 90 degrees to the straight is your cross grain. And this is where you cut your ribbing from. You cut it from the cross grain because there's a greater stretch in the cross grain. I have used this really funky cloth on the bias to make a binding for a neckline. That's great fun. But it has a limited stretch.
Like I say, we can see that. It's not much give there, is there?
Not much give at all. So this is actually the straight. So most of the stretch is on the straight. This is Power Net, Stuart, and it's not the heaviest, so I'm doubling it, but this has enormous strength.
Oh my Lord, that's going and going and going.
Yeah, and also the other thing is, when you're choosing what you're going to make your ribbing out of, is the recovery. You've got to make sure that it's going to come back into shape.
That is
okay.
What on earth fabric is that?
It's rather amazing.
Is that
what would you use this for? Well, if you made a knit dress, you could make the lining out of this. It's very light. It's flesh colored. You could use this for. You'd make a very tiny skater's. Some of the things that like a skating outfit or a dancer's outfit, where you want flesh. But you want fabric over flesh, you can use this Power Net as well. And it comes in black, white, and flesh.
Wow.
And it's really versatile.
I'm presuming that's completely man-made, that Power Net, because that can't be...
It is.
That can't be natural in any way.
No, it's totally.
You just kept pulling that and putting that, and that didn't rip. Does it feel like it's going to rip?
Not really. Very strong.
Wow.
Now it's starting to curl, see? It's really cool. And you can get this in heavy, light, medium, and heavyweight. And I think I used this because I was making a dress which is very see-through. The client wanted it very opaque. But instead of making facings and that, I just bagged the whole dress out with this. And that gave it a little bit of concealment,
Yeah.
It's a very risque number. I remember it well.
I think I'd like a top out of that.
Oh, yeah, you would. You would.
Little gym top.
Yeah. I'll send you the link of where to get it. It's great fun. Great fun. And you'll cut it about this big.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll make my muscles look good. So fame.
So I've done a couple of samples using a calico for the bodice, and then a stretchy, either something with limited stretch or greater stretch for the collar, for the rib knit. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is what happens when you don't have the right ratio.
That looks like many of my makes.
Okay. So, and that's all right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, you've got to
absolutely
start somewhere.
fine.
You know, the thing is,
You've
you
got
then
to
know
start,
where
yeah,
you've gone wrong. That's why
yeah,
test, practice. Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. So you've you've made a calico base of your pattern. You've normally the rule is maybe if you're working in centimeters, that the rib knit should be, depending on the stretch and the recovery and all that, should be about 5 to 10 centimeters less
Yeah,
ribbing to the neckline. Now, when you measure your neckline, you have to measure the neckline where it meets. It's less the seam allowance. So it's going to be larger, okay?
yeah,
Larger than if you would have measured the raw edge before you put your ribbing on, right?
right.
So measure the neckline at the seam line. Now, I put this together to show what happens when you're starting out, okay? You take your piece of this
Yeah, your jersey
and
knit,
you're
your
cutting on the
stretch.
cross grain.
Yeah,
Yep. And I think I decided on 3 inches. I cut a long strip. I folded it lengthwise. Folded it lengthwise, opened up,
yeah,
and I sewed a center back seam in it, which is here. There's my center back seam.
yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So that's now.
There's that.
Yeah,
That's it. Okay. Now it's folded in half. And now I'm going to try it. And I tried it on this, and it was too small.
oh, okay.
So then I thought, I know what to do. But then I thought, no, wait a minute. Don't do that. Show what happens. Because I like to show how you would
Absolutely.
recover.
Yes, because
Yeah.
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Because our conversations are always about what is happening.
Yeah,
Now, we're not showing everything perfectly done, but what is happening and how to recover from it. So you can tell that this is way too big. Well, how much too big is it? Okay. Well, if you were to go around and just pin out what you don't want.
oh, that makes, I can see where you're going with this. That makes so much sense. I would have never have thought of that.
Yeah.
My brain
There
just
you
wouldn't
go.
work like
Well,
that. I would have just gone, oh, let's just
yeah.
go for 2 centimeters cut off.
Try to rip it out and try it
Yeah,
again.
but that's
Well,
logic
why
though
do
here,
that?
Carol. That's just,
Yeah, that's it. And that's what it's all about. Now, the other thing that helps you here, because remember we talked about the ratio from front to back.
yeah,
Because if we look at our shoulder seam, which is here and here, I folded it at the shoulder seam. You can see that this is the neckline, the length of the neckline in the front.
That's
But the neckline in the back is
shorter.
shorter.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
journey of it. Yeah,
So, yes. So now let's just put a couple more pins in. And the really cool thing about this is once you pin this out, and you know it may not be exact, Stuart, but you're going to get closer. And you're not actually going to be that far off. But now you have a length for the back, which is now the edge, this folded edge.
yeah,
Okay, we're going to match my shoulder seams now. Okay, shoulder seams here are now matched.
yeah. Pin.
So now we have the overall length for the back and the overall length for the front.
Brilliant.
So we've got our distribution of front to back
Yeah,
worked out. Okay, so this is a crew neck, and it's about 1 inch tall. Now,
lovely.
if I were to take this, if I were to now measure this, I would cut a new one of these and I would seam it in, and it would probably be right on what we need.
Yes, yeah. That excess will have magically disappeared.
It'll magically disappear
Yeah.
because we're taking this out,
Yeah,
but we're really taking it out of here
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Okay, so the whole thing becomes shorter. Now, can I show you one more thing?
By all means.
Because this is this is a piece of lingerie elastic. Okay.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's
We'll be seeing
opaque
that
and it
next
has a
week because it's
very,
lingerie week next week, isn't it?
yeah, we could do something really fun.
Yeah.
So this could be like a waistband on a pair of knickers or something, or
Yeah.
the bottom of a bustier, or straps, thicker straps on something. And I like using this a lot. It comes in black and white
Yeah.
because it's very pretty as well.
Yeah.
And I thought I would use this same pattern, but this is basically, it's our bomber jacket.
Oh,
Here's our zip.
look.
See,
Yeah.
there's our zip. And here is our ribbing, which disappears into nothing.
Yeah.
Hold this up. Disappears into nothing at the zip.
I love it.
And then as we move around the neck, now we're at the shoulder, we are increasing the stand of this collar
Yeah.
to the full height at the center back. Okay. Now the reason I did this sample for you is to show you, what happens on the half to the shape of this. You can see it's just like that picture you drew. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Tapering
Just
down.
like that. Yeah. So that's the half moon kind of shape. And what I did with this sample to make it easier is I sewed a guide stitch on my neck seam allowance. I clipped the curve and I pressed it under. So now I have basically my finished edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And that's okay to do it this way, even if you're seaming and aligning. It's all right, because this allows you to practice stretching this and pinning until you get the tension and the flatness that you want. And I'm nearly there because I don't have too many curly bits.
No,
do
I can't see many at all,
Yeah.
if any. Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you get around to the center back, and I have a crease here pressed in, then you know that all you have to do is fold this on the half and you've got your whole pattern.
Oh,
there you are.
There you are. Look.
So it's a little bit of giving yourself less of a hassle, and you know that you generally stretch the neck on to a rib binding, or generally a collar. You don't want a collar or anything to be bigger than your neckline. You always stretch the neck on, and you can see here these little undulating bits of the garment, which will be stretched onto the collar. So I thought that was a real pretty example of how you could use just something else. It doesn't have to be rib knit. And there's our collar.
Oh.
And that's it. That's all I know about it.
Oh, it's wonderful. How often do you get to work with sequins? Because that behind you just came up this week, which I think is amazing. Do you get that type of fabric much? Because, or not at all? So when it does come in, then how do you feel about it?
Well, I battled with it enough that I know how to tame it. But I think it was last week I had a bridal skirt, which was made of this sequence as well. Yeah. But again, it was a very small sequence. So that was an easy skirt to put together. This one is much the same, small sequence, and it's a jersey fabric.
Can you bring it all in? Can we see? Are we allowed to see a bit more of it? Can you wheel it more towards you?
I don't know if I can.
Oh,
I can probably just.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, but I can lift it up.
No, I can see the neck now. It was just nice seeing the neckline and the belt there.
Look, there's the bottom. It's got that little drape on it.
Oh,
and there's the hem.
Oh, she's going to look fabulous then when she gets that.
She's a party girl. She has. This lady is very interesting. She's lived over 7 decades, and this is her dress. Yeah, why not?
Good on her.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, she's going on a Mediterranean cruise, and this is one of her top table outfits. But yeah, bridal season, it's, you know, it's June. We had a lot of weddings, so that does come out. And the one thing is, I remember a dress I made for a singer, the alto Hilary Summers from Wales. And she brought some sequins, beaded and sequins. And she just wanted a column dress. And so I backed her fabric with the lining. And then I sewed it together by hand with just a back stitch, which actually stretches. There's a bit of give in it.
Right.
So rather than put the whole thing through the machine and risk all that hassle, I did the whole thing by hand. And it probably went quicker. Because
yes, because you're in full control rather than the machine causing issues and stepping you. And we see that with the sewers. Sometimes maybe not the machine's fault, but sometimes the machines can take you back 3 or 4 steps, can't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought
not the recording.
Oh, what was that?
What happened?
Oh, it's
what happened?
I think your computer was talking to you. That's all right.
I thought it said now done recording. I hope we're still
recording this end. Yeah. That's all right.
All right. Okay.
We're all right. We're all right. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So we're going back to the back stitch because you can wax your thread. You can make it very strong. You can sew it together so that actually there's a bit of give in it. It's strong. And then you don't have to have the hassle of this sewing machine at all. You can hand hem it. You can even, apply a facing. Or if it's like this, if it's a cowl neck, then that's easy as well because the way it's cut. And then maybe you just put in some diamante straps or something. So there is a way to make this job, very easy. Or easier,
you've inspired me. I was getting to the point with week 6 and I felt like I was getting a bit negative, and with Ting just being a bit flat and being a bit, we're not seeing what we want to see. And then I started to think, are we analysing it too much? So I was getting a bit flat. You've now re-inspired me to love it again, to think positive, and hopefully we'll over the next 3 weeks we'll see some finished makes, and we'll see more of the skills of the sewers, because that's ultimately what we want to see. We want to see them make things, because when I watch you make things and show what you're making and alterating, it just inspires you, and that's what we want to see more of, isn't it?
Well, that's so refreshing, and I think that's how I feel as well. And I think, well, it's that phrase we hear, oh well, what a what a shame. And I just think, no, it's not a shame. There's a way around this, and it perks me up too.
Oh, good. Well, it looks like we're perking lots of people up, because they've left, you all viewers have left some amazing comments, as always, on the videos. And I saw you were chatting away, Carol, weren't you? You left some messages. You got some time.
I got involved. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think I want to.
Yeah.
I really want to, and I will. I'll get more and more involved with it, because people really want to have some dialogue.
Absolutely.
And they really want to, and I hope people write in with what they're making, and because all this is going to feed into the masterclass series and how we structure it.
Well, that was one of the comments. So let me. Where are we? Where is it? Here. User, that's the comment name, says, great tips. Woohoo! Masterclass, can't wait. Bring it on. You see, we've got our own enthusiasm going there. We may not be seeing finished makes and learning enough and getting all those history bits that we want from the Sewing Bee. Well, you got to get it here. So pressure's on, Carol, now for the masterclass. And then
I can't. Yep. I was just going to say, I can't wait, because our trial went so well.
It did, didn't it?
I was really excited about it, yeah.
And then we were saying about the conversation, don't worry about reading it all. It was I just wanted to show you. So Jane Goodall had written a message saying, pockets, always an anxious business. I'd love more advanced discussion of how to deal with fabrics that may cause problems of slippage, fraying, bulk or stretch. Well, don't you worry, we'll have you covered. I'm sure. Well, we were talking about it just a little while ago, weren't we? But what I love about this is Tom Crafts, who is always a great commentator and
Yes.
getting involved in the conversation, isn't he? And is oh so positive with giving bouquets out for the work that he's seen is great. He's joined in with the conversation and started giving tips. So everyone's sharing or offering some sort of knowledge. And that is lovely, isn't it?
There is always more than 1, 2, or even 3 ways to do something, you know, and you learned how you learn what you learn, make sure it's the fundamentals, you know, and the highest level of technique that there is, and then you make it your own. And so I love to hear other people's tips.
Absolutely.
And, you know, suggestions.
And so it's lovely seeing that. So thank you very much. And I know everyone appreciates you, Carol. You're working very, very hard, and to give up the time and with Mike getting the tech sorted for us to chat for an hour each week. Everyone loves it. I love it, and we're all learning so much. So perhaps we're gonna re-enthuse everyone else out to get their love for the sewing bee, even if we're not seeing finished makes. We're going to be positive no matter what. Hey.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh. Well done.
Right. Well, good luck with finishing that wonderful sequin. I still can't believe the timing of that. That's amazing, isn't it?
What else could we talk about, right? What is it? No.
It makes me want to go and get some sequins now and do something. Get a sequin gym top.
Listen, your wardrobe is growing by the second.
I know.
You've got a power net gym top. You've got a sequence this. You've got a lingerie something else.
Look at...
Yeah, you're going to... Busy guy.
We've turned it all around. We're going to get on that sewing machine. Now we've got our love back. Thank you, Carol. We've got lingerie next week. So what do you think we might be looking at for lingerie week? What would you call?
It's going to be PJs and corsets and bralettes or something like that. Yeah, a bit of Rigiline boning or spiral boning, something like that.
We'll look out for it. Can't wait, and I say we'll be thinking positive for the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 episodes left. So thank you, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you for week 7 lingerie week. Cheers. Thanks all. Thanks, Carol. See you. Bye bye.
Night night. Bye bye.